Next up, we have our own Sudha Umashanker, who's going to tell us a story. Please welcome.
Thank you, Kalyan, and everybody present right here and online. I'm Sudha Umashanker, and I'm going to tell you a story from the Panchatantra. It is called Three Fishes and How the Sparrow Avenged the Elephant. It's actually one story dovetailing into another with a little interlude in between, but it's a neat unit altogether. So here goes. Once upon a time, in a pond, there were three fishes. Now their names are a bit of a tongue twister. The first one was Anagatvidata, meaning somebody who was far-sighted and very wise. The second fish was Pratyut Panmati. He was a very quick-thinking, resourceful fish. And the third one was Yad Bhavishya. He was a laid-back kind of fish who left everything to chance, and he was resigned to fate and what fate dealt him. And true to their names, their characters were in exact accordance to that. So you had Anagatvidata, who was always wise and looking far ahead, Pratyut Panmati, resourceful, practical, and all of that, and Yad Bhavishya, who was always leaving everything to luck and chance. One day, a group of fishermen passed by the pond, and then they peered into the pond and said, "This pond is full of fish, but however, our day is done and our nets are full. So tomorrow at sunrise, we will come here, cast our nets, and catch all the fish." And off they went. Now Anagatvidata, the wise one, heard what the fisherman said, and he called all his friends. And he said, "You heard what they said? We have to leave the pond at once. Otherwise, tomorrow, we will all be dead at the crack of dawn." Pratyut Panmati, the practical, resourceful, quick-thinking one, said, "Yes, you're right. And you've always warned us about this danger. And now danger is knocking right at our doors. So leave we must our ancestral home, however much we love it." But the third fish, Yad Bhavishya, turned to them and said, "Are you even serious about what you're saying? Just because a group of fishermen came by and said something, do we have to leave the pond that we love so much? For all you know, these men may not even come tomorrow. You know, we are all going to die one day. Not tomorrow, not at the hands of these fishermen, but probably because of old age or whatever. And even if we run as far as we possibly can, if we are fated to die, then die we will. Well, if you guys want to leave the pond, that's all very well. But I am going to be staying here with my family." So while Anagatvidata and, do you remember the second name? Pratyut Panmati left with their families, Yad Bhavishya stayed back. And just as they had announced the previous evening, the fishermen arrived, cast their nets, netted all the fish in the pond, and Yad Bhavishya and his family died in the fishermen's nets. Now a titib bird, it's a lapwing, if you like. A titib bird and her husband were listening to the story And the titip bird turned to her husband and said, "You heard that story, right? So we have to leave this tree which is by the sea this very moment. We cannot afford to take any chances." Her husband was very annoyed. And he said, "You think I'm so stupid as that fish in your story? Don't I have any interest or love for you to protect our eggs? You know, my beak is very strong. I can drink up the entire water of the sea, and where you have waves dancing, you will instead have a forest." Now the wife, the female bird, wasn't impressed. She said, "You're a small bird, and the sea is vast and deep. There is no way that you're going to be able to drink up all the water of the sea. Don't waste your time in tall talk and empty boasts, because you will end up, when you're fighting a foe like the sea, you will end up like a moth in a candle flame." But the male titip bird was very insulted. His ego was pricked. He said, "I may be a small bird, but I am not lacking in courage. And courage, even in the smallest of creatures, can help them take on the mightiest adversary. So don't underestimate me. I'm like a little lamp that can dispel the greatest darkness." But the female bird wasn't convinced. She said, "Do you know that 1,800 rivers empty themselves into the sea? How in heaven's name are you going to drink up the water of the sea with that tiny little beak of yours?" And the male bird had an answer for that. He said, "My beak is strong, and the day is night, and the night is longer. So I can. Don't put that beyond me." So finally, the female titip bird was at her wit's end. She said, "Well, if you must attempt something like this, at least get the support of all your friends. You know how weak blades of grass, when twisted together, can form a very strong rope? So if there is teamwork, you can together, with your combined strength, fight the mightiest foe." And then she told him the story of how the sparrow avenged the elephant. Now, once upon a time, in a tamal tree. Now, the tamal tree is where Lord Krishna met Radha. In a tamal tree, a sparrow and his wife had made their home. They had built their nest in that tree on one of the branches, and the female sparrow had laid her eggs. Now, one very hot afternoon, an elephant ambled into that little forest like clump, and it sought some shade under the tree. Now, this elephant was a very fidgety elephant. So it was waving its trunk this way and that. And finally, it caught hold of the branch on which this nest was, and it tugged at it. And what happened? The branch came down, and so did the nest, and all the eggs came crashing down. The female sparrow was very, very upset, and she cried out in great sorrow. Now, hearing her cries, the woodpecker, her friend, came rushing by to see what had happened. And then when he saw that the nest had fallen and the eggs were all broken, he tried to console her. He said, "What's done is done. Those who have gone, and you can't bring them back. Our tears are not going to bring back those who have gone, nor do they help the living. So the wise really should not mourn what cannot be mended. The female sparrow said, yes, I know that the eggs have gone, but I am angry with that elephant because that elephant did whatever he did and without a trace of remorse or guilt, just walked away without so much of an apology. So if you want to help me feel better, I want you to help me kill that elephant. So the woodpecker said, I will certainly do that. You are my friend. And if that's what it takes to help put a smile back on your face, well, that's what I will do. But then first, let me go and find Vinarava, the fly. You know, she's a smart little thing. And she may have an idea or two about how to go about our task. So the woodpecker went to Vinarava the fly and told her that this is what has happened to my friend, and I need your help in killing that elephant. And Vinarava said, you are my friend, and your friend is in trouble. So helping your friend will be as good as helping you. So you can count on me. But first, let's go to Meghanada, the frog. He's a very wise and wily creature, and he might have a better idea of how to go about this. So the female sparrow, the woodpecker, and Vinarava, the fly, went to meet Meghanada, the frog, and tell him what happened. So Meghanada, the frog, heard them out, and he said, when friends get together, they can handle any foe. That elephant is as good as gone. And so he hatched out a plan. He said, tomorrow, when the sun is at its peak, the elephant will come seeking some shade, and he will come and rest under the tree. So once he does that, Vinarava, it's your duty to gently buzz in his ear and lull him to sleep. And once he is deep in slumber, Mr. Woodpecker, you have to peck his eyes and gouge them out. Now the elephant will cry out in pain, and after some time he will need a drink of water. And then Meghanada, I, the frog, will croak, and the elephant will think there's water nearby. So I will lead him to a very deep pit from where he cannot ever climb up. And so they fixed all their responsibilities and they hatched this plan. And the next day, everything went according to plan. The elephant came looking for some shade and respite from the heat. Vinarava, the fly, buzzed in his ear and lulled him to sleep. The woodpecker was on standby. It pecked his eyes and gouged out his eyes. And then when the elephant cried out in pain, Meghanada, the frog, began to croak and led the elephant to a very deep pit from where he could not, emerge. And that was the end of the elephant. So when the female titib bird finished telling this story of the sparrow and how it avenged the elephant to her husband, she left him with one last bit of advice. She said, well, if you have to take on the sea, then at least you have to enlist the support of your friends. So the male titib bird called out to all his friends, the peacock, the crane, the ducks, and all the storks, and he told them that I need your help because the sea has stolen all our eggs. And that is the end of the story. The three fishes and how the sparrow avenged the elephant. I hope you followed the story and I hope you enjoyed the 3-in-1 story as much as I enjoyed telling it to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any comments, any reflections? Please go ahead. Yes.
I'm listening to Sudha I always find quite there's calm and necessary that touches the heart and that never fades away. So
Thank you. Although this story is about the elephant, one of my favorite animals, because I love Ganesha, the elephant god, I thought there was a larger moral in the story, and that's why I chose to narrate it this evening. So then there aren't any other questions, I'll take leave, and thank you for your patient hearing.